Hey everybody, I'm just making this video as an early investor in NIO and Tesla. I do have a few questions and concerns. I'm not a financial advisor. Please do your own research. Everything I say in this video will just be my humble opinion and shouldn't be taken as financial advice. Please do your own research. Everything I say is my opinion and a joke at best. Again, do your own research. So I just want to go over robo-taxi because the robo-taxi concept has been being discussed heavily in the past week once again. And I've actually thought as an early investor in NIO and Tesla that NIO was actually going to be the winner in robo-taxi, while Tesla, I don't even think they have a chance anywhere near NIO at least. And it's not because these vehicles aren't great. It's because they lack the infrastructures. The vehicles itself don't have the capabilities to be as successful as a NIO robo-taxi and able to do it. And this is simply because they lack battery as a service. They don't have battery swap. And if Tesla did have battery swap, then I would believe that Tesla would dominate the robo-taxi service. So because I think NIO is going to dominate the robo-taxi service, and most investors in America are probably more pro Tesla. As an investor in both, I have maybe less of a bias in my humble opinion because it doesn't matter as long as both stock goes up. It doesn't matter. I win. But this is very straightforward. And if you are an investor in Tesla, please, Cathie Woods, if you work for ARK, if you work for Tesla, you need to explain this to me because I think that NIO is gonna beat Tesla in robotaxi and probably actually be the dominating force in robotaxi. Okay, and this is mainly because of battery swap and battery as a service and the battery swap infrastructure. So I will be going through this video. I will take my time to lay things down and how I'm viewing it. Okay, so what is robotaxi? What is the concept behind it?
Instead of it parking at my lot while I'm working, it goes off and picks people up and drops them off.
Yes.
Who's making the money from that? I assume that's the value add you're talking about. Is it a revenue share? Do you have this model sort of?
So basically, when you're not working or you're not using your Tesla vehicle or electric vehicle, it'll go out and act as a taxi service using its autonomous driving network, driving services, and it'll pick people up and drop them off, and maybe you can rent it while and use it for whatever purpose you have, like a ride-sharing company, like Get Around or something like that. Is what I'm assuming. And that sounds great. You know, the ride sharing one, I can see it for a Tesla, sort of, but when it comes to a 24/7 robo-taxi service, I don't think it's possible. And it's simply because of this.
It's actually extremely easy. All you have to do is walk up to the stall, pull the cord off of it, and press the little button on the end of the cord to open your charge port.
So in order to replicate this, a robot is going to be very expensive. You need like a robot arm or some kind of robotic function to do this. And that's going to take numerous steps. So if Tesla's willing to invest the initial upfront cost to modify their charging networks or charging stations in order to automatically charge your electric vehicle, okay, fine. But currently, look how many steps that takes as a robot. This is why you cannot automate things like plumbing or being a carpenter, because it takes too many steps. It'd be too costly, and I don't even know if the technology is there. But even if it is, how many millions or billions is it going to cost?
Then you're able to plug in your car. Back inside your car, you will be able to see how much time you have remaining to supercharge to your set battery percentage, and you'll also be able to see how much your charging is going to cost. Instead of swiping your card like at a gas station, Tesla automatically charges the credit card on your Tesla account. When charging is complete, just hold down on the button to release the charging cord and insert it back into the stall. Charging your car at a
So you need your Tesla to pull up to the charging station. Okay, very possible with autonomous driving, but then you would have to physically grab the cable from the charging station and open the lid for the Tesla charging port, step into it and plug it in to the Tesla itself. And then you're worrying about vandalism, you're worrying about people coming up and taking your Tesla or damaging your vehicle or damaging the actual charging station as well. And it's just the steps too. So even if no one were to damage the Tesla or vandalize the Tesla charging stations or compromise the vehicle, you still have to physically grab the cable, which is heavy, and push it in the Tesla. And how many steps does that take? You know, are you gonna have a autonomous arm or robot to do that for every single charging station or even a select few? I mean, the problem with that is that it's going to cost so much money to implement this. This is like millions to billions of dollars worth of implementation of new technology. So Tesla's going to have to front that capital in order to make that initial investment. And it's not even that efficient either, because again, there are outside factors that could damage the vehicle, or it could be rainy, right? And plus too, when you are using an autonomous taxi for long periods of times or hours, who's going to do the maintenance vehicle checkup? Who's going to service the vehicle? Who's going to realign the tires? Who's going to check if the vehicle's health is overall okay? While on the other hand, I think NIO is actually going to dominate robo-taxi, because when you look at this, NIO can do NIO can do tons of different things. It's very straightforward. You can autonomously go into a swap station. It'll drive itself automatically, swap the battery out, and work 24/7 as a battery swap. So here's an example.
We are parking now. Be aware of your surroundings. Do not open any door or take over the steering wheel. You can press the brake panel to control the speed.
NIO users, if they want to access the power swap network, they need to choose battery as a service. So that means they don't own the battery. They lease the battery, and so they can get the access to the power swap station network. You can purchase the battery and the car, or you can purchase the car but choose access to the swapping network. You can also just subscribe to both the car and the battery.
The idea is that you're not renting or buying a specific battery, but you're just paying for there always being a fresh battery in your car. Charging is still a cheaper option, but there are plenty of people who'll pay a fee for convenience.
Preparing. Please wait.
We can serve the same amount of users comparable to a charging hub, but we need only 1/3 of the space, and we need 1/3 of the grid connection, because we can charge the batteries at their low speed. We provide frequency balancing services. We charge the batteries at specific points in time where there is a need to get rid of all that power and balance the grid.
The thing is, I've driven electric cars on long trips before, and charging wasn't really a big problem. It needs a little more planning than using fossil fuels, but turns out I want to rest at about the same interval that the car wants charging. Folks out there who can drive 8 hours in one go, good luck, but I am not one of you.
But it will be essential if you are using an autonomous robo-taxi service that's going to work for 8 to 24 hours, if not longer. And you need a swap station to actually service the vehicle, like realign the tires, like do general maintenance, like clean the vehicle, like do health checks. And this is only something a swap station can do.
The best way to charge a vehicle is at home if you have.
Unless you're willing to hire someone to do all these things from Tesla, but then the cost of operations may reduce the actual profits after revenue, right? So it may not actually be worth it, especially if you're doing it in large volumes. So if you have like millions of robo-taxis on the road, and you have to have one person per vehicle, or a fleet of people for a fleet of robo-taxis to service all them, realign the tires, check the health of the vehicle, do inspections on it, clean the vehicles. A swap station can do these things, and they'll become better over time, so they're able to do these things like cleaning, realigning tires, health check, battery check, swapping out for a newer battery, a longer existing battery, a 50 kilowatt, 70 kilowatt, 150 kilowatt hour battery, versus a Tesla that has like a standard set integrated battery that cannot be easily changed out. While NIO can swap out to any type of battery depending on what is needed. So if you want to work 24/7, then you can upgrade to a 150 kilowatt hour battery or a 100 kilowatt hour battery. If you have like a 75 kilowatt hour battery, and it'll work much longer. The battery will be much higher quality, and this means that your vehicle can work longer, right? And my main concern is that these swap stations can already do a lot of the maintenance checkups for the electric vehicles, especially if they're going to be workhorses that are going to be working all day long. Versus a Tesla, they don't provide that.
A socket, right? With EV becoming more affordable, there are more people who want to access an electric vehicle and don't have the opportunity to have a socket close to where they park their car. Shanghai, a city with more than 20 million inhabitants, people live in big apartments, and so on-street charging, it's much less than in Europe. People don't have access to home charging because it's a much more dense city. PowerSwap offers a great opportunity to just leave your home, drive to the station, swap your battery and continue your trip.
And of course there is the catch that this battery swap station only works for cars that are built for it. You can get a NIO battery swapped here, but there's no other car on the market that can use this. At least not yet.
We have been signing strategic agreements with big groups like Chang'an and Geely Group. We have gained the confidence of also the other automakers. There's an opportunity to standardize this technology in China, but perhaps also in Europe. We're going to invest in battery as a service, and we're going to invest in the PowerSwap network.
Stock have been running startup companies and pensions out my car.
So as you can see here, when it comes to being a robo-taxi service, a robo-taxi fleet, NIO is just so much better. It's just the infrastructure, as you can see here. And I will be going more into that, but a quick glance would show you that there's been over 41 million accumulative battery swaps already. So it's a tested service. You can see that there's Chang'an Motors, Geely, and other big automakers in China worth 10 plus billion, 30 plus billion dollar companies that are like the Fords of America, but the Fords of China, or Toyotas of China. These companies are now partnering with NIO because they see the prospects of this company. So there's currently 3,750 charging stations. There are this is like your cables and things like that, something like what Tesla offers, like your charging stations. And NIO has their own versions of like supercharging as well. And also NIO has currently 2,400 battery swap stations. They're planning to implement 1,000 more as of 2024. So there'll be around 3,400 if not more. And then, you know, by they have larger goals by partnering with like Geely or Geely or Chang'an and Chery, all these other electric vehicle companies and traditional Chinese automakers, in order to expand their charging station network and their battery swap stations, and in order to build up an infrastructure. So you have also access to third-party charging piles just like Tesla. But if you look here, this is essentially what you're looking at. This is their battery swap network. So they have, this is just China, right? In China, they have a whole fleet of battery swap stations, power stations. But the main thing is the battery swap stations, right? Because that's what you're going to be using in order to facilitate your robo-taxi prospects. So it's all throughout China in a very strategic way, and these are densely populated cities, right? You have Shanghai, Chengdu, all these other places like Hefei, and these battery swap stations are made to be all along these densely populated areas or high volume areas as well. So you have access to traditional charging or battery swap. But battery swap stations are the most important thing. Looking into this more, yeah, so in 2024 they plan to have 1,000 battery swap stations. Yeah, so they're partnering with Chang'an. But you know, to think that a Chinese company doesn't have autonomous driving is just ridiculous. Like, Chinese and American autonomous driving are probably neck and neck. And actually, if you look at 37 out of the 30 out of 37 of these categories in growth or technology or development, China's actually beating the United States in 30 out of 37. So they're also producing their own chips as well, and they've actually come a long way. So when you look at the autonomous driving, NIO is very much capable, similarly to Tesla. And if there is a gap, it'll definitely close, because there's a certain point where there's a ceiling, right? So everything else sort of just catches up to it. So my main concern, though, is that when you look at RoboTaxi, it's the battery swap infrastructure, but NIO also offers many beautiful vehicles, just like Tesla. They have the ET5, EC6, SUVs and sedans. You know, some of these are anywhere from 40, 50, 60, 80, 100,000, depending on which one you buy, right? But these are very beautiful vehicles too. So there's you would have to connect the RMB to USD, but these are sedans and SUVs right here. But also, I believe that NIO is also going to compete with the Tesla Model 3 in terms of pricing by offering a higher quality vehicle for a substantially lower price with, I believe, battery as a service as well. So you're going to have like this huge fleet of both. NIO is going to compete with Tesla in both like the premium electric and the mass market with its own Envo and Alps brand, which is their sub brands. And the prices are going to be $27,000 to $41,000, and you know, this comes probably with battery swap, so it could cut down the initial upfront cost as well. So you know, if it does cost $27,000, perhaps it's even less if there's certain types of leasing programs or battery subscriptions. And the better thing about these is that you can upgrade your battery from 50, 75, 100, and 150 kilowatt batteries whenever you want. Versus a Tesla, you're stuck with that battery that's going to be degrading over time, while the shell of the vehicle stays relevant as long as you're doing general upkeep. I mean, these vehicles are very beautiful, very similarly to Tesla, but you know, unique in its own manner. So to go further into this, another thing too is that when you look into a Tesla interior, it's very straightforward. It's kind of like it's a smart electric vehicle, but it's very straightforward. It has a big screen. There is some talk services, but NIO has something a little bit different, and I think it's even better for RoboTaxi. They have this thing called Nomi that sits in the front that can act as ChatGPT services, Nomi services, and has its own built-in command services that's AI as well. So it's basically like a human AI that is integrated into the vehicle itself.
我们来张合影吧。
好的，准备好了吗？3、2、1，猫咪。
你在脸脸啊！ Nomi，我们回家吧。
10分钟后到家。
So NIO has autonomous driving, very similar to Tesla. So let's see what we have here.
早上好，
早，Nomi。
我们出发吧。嗨，Nomi。
播放上一首歌。
没问题。声音大一些。
So when you see a Tesla versus NIO, like when it comes to taxi services, I just feel like NIO is so much better, and I think Cathie Woods knows this. This is how she kind of alludes to this.
The autonomous taxi network. I believe Tesla is going to be, in this we also believe, the autonomous taxi network, certainly of the United States.
Right now, people are starting to think of.
I mean, she says in the United States, but she understands that the competition in China, like NIO, is just it would beat out Tesla, and even Elon Musk knows that Chinese electric vehicle companies would just engulf American automakers. So, Cathie Woods also acknowledges that I believe it's somewhere around here. Let's see. That the industry itself is going to be very lucrative. So
it's going to have an inventory correction in this AI age, and there is a reassessment.
And the Fords and everybody else saying we can't even make these things profitably to begin with, let alone to do it at half the price.
And just think, in the future will be electric. We believe in 5 years, 75% to 85% of all sales will be electric. Okay, wait, how do we get ready?
We're willing to sell it at $300 or $400, and you're buying it now. What is it worth in 5 years?
$2,000. We're in print on that.
$2,000.
Yes.
Let me ask you another.
And think about that. It's down 60%. This reminds me very much of 2018-19.
So So Cathie Wood believes that the Tesla is worth substantially more than what it is today, like anywhere from 10 times more, which is, what is that, like a 5 times 5? Like, I don't know what the market cap of Tesla is right now. I haven't looked, but I'm guessing it's going to be over 3, 4, 5 trillion plus company. And this is because Cathie Wood believes in RoboTaxi bringing in like a large amount of revenue through its RoboTaxi. But while I do agree that RoboTaxi can be very profitable and create large amounts of revenue, I'm sorry, but NIO just has a substantially better accommodating service. So because of the infrastructure of battery swaps, that is why I think NIO will dominate RoboTaxi. If Tesla had RoboTaxi, I think they would have been the dominator of RoboTaxis, but because they don't have that, Tesla does not have the means to actually accommodate a RoboTaxi fleet nearly as much as NIO. And if NIO came to America, and they're already in Europe, they would just engulf Tesla and RoboTaxi, because they would just outcompete Tesla in RoboTaxi. So if you are a Tesla investor, please let me know why you disagree. But I could make a more thorough video on this, but I just want to show you a very layman's point of view on why I think that NIO is going to dominate the RoboTaxi services over Tesla. And that doesn't mean Tesla's RoboTaxi won't exist, but you know, a NIO vehicle can work 24/7 autonomously and offers sedans and SUVs and multiple charging options, but it's like a Tesla except it has battery swap, which is the most essential part for RoboTaxi services, because the vehicle can be realigned, it can be adjusted, it can have maintenance, and the battery swap stations are improving over time as well. The energy grid can be balanced as well, and the vehicle can be health checked, it can be performed maintenance, it can have all these things that you cannot have with a Tesla unless you have a physical person there. But how much money is that going to have a cost to have a Tesla service fleet to service your Teslas every single time? And you know, even if, right, a NIO vehicle isn't doing too well, NIO has their own fleet of workers who are going to drive around these vans as they currently do and charge up a Tesla and do maintenance on it and work on the vehicle itself, like mechanics too, like the mobile mechanics for Tesla. But yeah, the main issue I have is that, you know, it's like NIO did everything Tesla did, except NIO offers more because of its battery swap, and that's the most important part for RoboTaxi, the infrastructure in order to accommodate a RoboTaxi fleet. So to me, this is very straightforward why Tesla cannot compete with NIO and RoboTaxi. It's so straightforward that I don't know if I need to go into anymore. But yeah, if you're an investor in Tesla, or if you believe in the Tesla RoboTaxi, let me know. I'm an investor in both companies, early investor, and this is just my opinion, and it's been my opinion for a very long time that NIO will dominate Tesla and RoboTaxi. Okay, so I'm not a financial advisor. Everything I've said in this video is just my humble opinion. Please do your own research. And yeah, thank you for sticking by. If you have any comments, I would like to know and hear them. Thank you.